everyone, it's Bernie here from Stamp and Eat, and welcome back to another card making session with me. It's so great to have you here, and today I want to show you how I made this very simple tone on tone, but I think rather elegant card. So in this video I'm going to show you how to mask. I'm going to show you the benefits of using vellum. I'm going to show you how I created that circle effect at the back, and I'm also going to show you how you can just really keep color profiles simple by stamping tone on tone and using the colors to let the stamp sets, or just using whatever to make your card just look a little bit I just want to say like a real elegance to it, rather than having a lot of color, which is unusual for me, but not unusual for me. So I've used Pebble Path, one of our new colors for this card, and I've used a combination of stamp sets, but you can use whatever you like. Just find something that is going to create something of interest. So let me quickly run through the stamp sets that I used to recreate this, and like I say, you can use whatever you have. So the pot and one of the fronds was from the brand new Earthen Textures bundle. I used both the stamp and the die to achieve, and here's the die. And just a little bonus tip for those of you watching: if you look at my dies, you can see I have the exact pictures behind them. There's a missing piece over there, and that's one of the dies I'm using. So what I do there is, before I take them off the sheet, I run them through my photocopier by scanning them, and then I cut them and I adhere them with Stampin' Seal Plus to a magnetic sheet, and that way I can see what is missing. Then I used this frond from Nature's Print, and also with its matching die, and then the thanks came from Artistically Inked. So a combination of stamp sets today, but you can use whatever you want to achieve that look. I also used some gold trim, and I used a mask. This one's retired, but I just wanted something that would create a little bit of interest. So you can use whatever you have. As I've already mentioned, I've used Pebble Path as my base. You can use whatever color you have. And the dimensionals are the brand new 2023-2025 in color dots. All right, so let's get started. For this card, my usual 4 1/8 by 5 1/2 scored at did I get that right? 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 scored at 4 1/8, and you're just going to burnish it, and that you can set to the side. Then you're going to need a piece of white basic cardstock, and I'm just going to turn on the light. Right, I'm back. I forgot to turn on my headlight, and I was wondering why the room felt so dark suddenly with the sun disappearing. This is 3 7/8 by 5 1/4, and this is what we're going to do. You can cut 2 of those pieces because the one will also form your liner. So on this piece of white cardstock, you're going to need a piece of paper to protect your surface. You're also going to need a circle that you can choose the diameter of, and you can see I've used this quite a bit, and this circle is 3 inches in diameter, but you can make it as big or as little as you please. Taking your mask and making sure your paper is nice and straight, place your mask over your basic white cardstock and place your circle in the middle. Now normally, if you look at my previous video that I did last week, I was very precise about how I did it. Today I'm going to wing it. So opening up your ink pad of choice, I'm going to place my finger on there to keep it in place, and I'm using my blending brush, and I'm starting to blend and I'm just working in circles around my mask, making sure that you ink up all over your basic white cardstock. And when you are satisfied that you've inked that up sufficiently, you can close your ink pad. We'll come back to using it. Take off the circle, release the mask, and there you have your little, or not so little, interesting circle in the background. Now you'll need to cut a piece of vellum at approximately, let's measure that, I think it was 3.5 and by 5, 3.5 by 5, and you're going to use some Stampin' Seal or a glue dot, you don't want it visible, to adhere over the top. So I'm just going to put a little bit of my Stampin' Seal in these 4 corners. And I'll just want to move that out the way for now so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm placing this in about the middle. And can you immediately see how it's just softened the background, but it's still allowed that background to come through? And that's such a clever technique, and that's why I love using vellum. Now to recreate the pot and these fronds, I have placed all my fronds on my one big clear block. Which one is this? Let's have a look quickly if I can get the number E. And I've inked them up with Pebble Path, and I've stamped them onto a piece of Pebble Path, and then I die cut them with the matching dies. So I'm very low on Pebble Path, so instead of risking doing it on camera, I've actually, to save time for you to watch, I have just pre-cut them. And so I've got them over here. I've got my pot, I've got my frond, and I've got my other frond. And all I'm going to do now is I'm going to use my silicone sheet, and I'm going to glue them behind the pot. With my first card, I wasn't actually really happy with the placement of this. I should have brought it more to the left, so I've actually changed this a little bit with this design, and I've brought these guys more forward, and I feel that that's a better placement of my my flowers or my palm fronds. Now, because I'm using a dark color, I'm actually going to be using dark or black glue dot, get that again, dimensionals, black dimensionals. So I'm just going to place them over there, and I'm using my Take Your Pick tool to release the lining. But before I do that, I've just remembered I need to be putting down my gold trim. So let's just set that to the side momentarily, and just want to wipe the glue off my fingers. For this step, you're going to need a clear adhesive. I like to use tear and tape, and I'm going to put a reasonably generous amount in the middle of that circle, and using my Take Your Pick tool again, I'm going to release the paper. And my gold trim has always got a life of its own, so I first put the first piece down, I bring the circle up, adhere it, and then I just let it do its own thing. So that one went like that, so I'm going to stick it down there and stick it down like that. Let's have a look where this piece wants to go. And we'll stick this one down like that, and I want one last swirl, and then I'm going to trim it like so, and I'm going to bring that, tuck that piece in. might just bring this guy in a little bit more. Now I can bring my pot that I had, the black dimensionals, and I'm going to bring that over to the center and hold that down. All right, what we're going to do next is we're going to do some clear heat emboss, and I'll demonstrate that for you. So let me just set that all to the side. Again, I'm using tone on tone. I'm using Pebbled Path, and I'm just looking for what I have done with my, oh yep, it's all here next to me. Just going to use some paper to protect it. I'm using the Thanks from Artistically Inked, and I'm just going to take the static off this paper. Using my brush, I'm going to take it off, and then using a two-step process. So I'm going to ink on my ink and on Versamark and on my cardstock. And you can always clean that up later. Just wipe it gently with a little bit of a paper towel to take off the ink. Then I'm going to use my clear embossing powder, and I just want to bring in my embossing buddy or my embossing tray, and I'm scooping it using a teaspoon. In my previous videos when I've done embossing, I have shown you that this is my preferred way of doing it, because I find I just use less powder, but I'm also have more control of where it goes. And then I'm using that paintbrush again, and I'm just coming in, oops, I missed a spot there by doing that. So I'm just going to go back over there and just going to be very careful where I brush that off. I'm now going to use, I just want to move this all to the side so that my heat tool doesn't make it blow away. And I'm now going to use my heat tool, my heat gun, to change the color. So you're holding it about 15 or 5 to 10 centimeters away, and you're moving it very gently, and you should start to see it changing color now. And I just always like to tilt it to the side just to make sure that it has actually completely caught with what I'm wanting with the glue. And then I'm going to use my paper snips, just cutting as straight a line as I can up and around here. And then I'll just come in and do a little bit more detailed cutting. You can leave it at a rectangle if you please. Personal preference. Right, and around, and you'll notice I'm not moving my scissors, but I'm actually moving my paper. Now that you've cut your thanks out, you can now glue it to the front of your card. Again, I highly recommend having a silicone mat in your craft room. And if you look carefully, you can see I was doing some of that at the back and trying to figure out why it wasn't working with the way I was doing it. Glue it on there. We're almost done with our card now. And I'm looking for my card base, and I'm going, where is it? Under all my stuff. I can now put this on my card front. We've got 2 steps left, and that is to bring in those dots I showed you in the beginning. So again, I'm going to use my take your pick tool, and these dots actually come in 3 different sizes. So I'm going to use those 3 different sizes, putting the one there, putting the one there, and we'll bring the one down there. if you're new to embellishments, we always work in 3s or 5s. And the last step that we actually, I'm just wondering, no, I'm going to move this one. I'm just looking at it and going, it's a bit off balance, so that's a bit better. And the last step we have to do is we have to bring in a liner. Now you can decorate your liner. I'm going to leave my liner plain. I feel the card in the front has more than enough detail, and I don't want to necessarily over decorate my card, so I'm just going to keep this plain and as elegant as what the card is. So there you have a gorgeous card. So in this card I taught you to mask, I taught you how to create an interesting background by placing a shape over that. I taught you how to use vellum to diffuse a busy background but still let the background in. And if you're wanting to create a tone-on-tone card, I've shown you how you do that by inking the exact same ink color onto its matching cardstock. And lastly, I showed you how to do a clear emboss using both the ink and clear embossing powder. So I hope you have found this video very beneficial. I hope you've enjoyed watching it, and that you'll give this these many techniques a go, and I'd love to see what you do with these techniques. If you have enjoyed watching this video, please subscribe and click the bell so that you can receive my notifications every Thursday evening, New Zealand time. And if you have not yet signed up for my newsletter subscription, please do that by clicking on the link below in the drop down box, where you will receive weekly card inspirations. Not all of them are shown on social media, so you will get cards and tips and techniques that I don't always show here. So thank you so much for crafting with me. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week. And remember, until we meet again, to stamp, eat, sleep, repeat.